The footage you're watching in the background is of Monroe County, New York Sheriff's deputies. I repeat it, Monroe County, New York Sheriff's deputies. One more time, Monroe County, New York Sheriff's deputies. Not the RPD. Not the RPD. Not Rochester, New York police officers, not the RPD. As annoying as my repeating that may sound, it's necessary, as you will soon see when I play this video back with sound. This is how not to protest. First of all, ridiculing, belittling, using vulgar language, bullying, um, basically addressing police officers the way that these so-called protesters are addressing police officers is not the way to protest. In my more than 20 years of organizing and attending marches and protests and rallies, calling out injustices and calling for accountability, especially calling out the Rochester, New York Police Department and their long history of misconduct, abuse, corruption, and killing innocent, unarmed citizens. Never once, not once, did I ever um, bully a police officer or stand face to face with a police officer and ridicule him, do personal attacks. You know what I mean? Just look, there's a line and there's a certain code in life, and that code also should exist when it comes to protests and marches and rallies. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to sound really old here, but I'm basically at the point where I consider myself obviously from a different generation, from the old school generation, where even in calling someone out, there's just a certain line. It's a little hard to explain, but there's just a certain line that you don't cross. And I'll be honest, if anything, uh, many cops should not be cops. We all know that. Many cops are thugs with badges, bullies with badges. So, at the very least, one thing that these protesters should have in mind, and it shows their ignorance that they don't have this in mind when they're doing what they're doing, is never become like the person that you despise, right? Never be the bully. Don't be that person. Do not be the bully. And in many ways, the video you're about to see, again, which is this video, I'm going to play it back in a second here with the sound. You even see at least one female, uh, you know what I mean? You know, doing a lot of just unnecessary stuff. Uh, you know what I mean? And that's not protest. That's not helping the cause. That is hurting the cause. You sound so fucking ignorant. I hope that the people in this video can see this video that I'm doing now and they can kind of like see themselves and see how stupid they look. And one thing I want to point out in particular is that again, this is not the Rochester, New York Police Department. This is the Monroe County, New York Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's deputies. What you're seeing is basically the protest showed up to the jail and the Hall of Justice. That's the jail back there that you're seeing, and the Hall of Justice building, the city court building. And the RPD basically does not control or govern over that. That is that what you're watching there is Monroe County, New York sheriff's property, basically. So they came out. You know, obviously, I don't agree with police abuse and injustices that have occurred in this city. This is my hometown. I've been doing this over 20 years. I'm a second generation police accountability activist. My father, Mario Vara, you know, marched these streets in the 1980s before most of these people were even born or thought of. So it really just hurts me to watch stuff like this because it does nothing for the cause. It really doesn't. It doesn't help the movements. It doesn't help call for police accountability. If anything, it hurts it. And I thought it was specifically just, shows their ignorance. They don't even know who they're addressing. In one part, you're going to hear them say, oh, you guys can't wait to throw a party at the Locust Club. They should be referring to the RPD if they're going to say that, not to the Monroe County, New York Sheriff's deputies. They have nothing to do with these cops who basically got off for the murder of Daniel Prude. They have absolutely nothing to do with that. They're not part of that in the sense of they weren't there. Those are not the cops that basically held Floyd down and basically held Daniel Prude down and suffocated him. You know, it shows their ignorance. They don't even know who they're addressing. They're basically addressing uh, the Monroe County, New York Sheriff's deputies, who, for the most part, from what I see in this video, actually, um, are not being, like I've seen many cops be. They're just basically holding the line. Um, and again, cops are going to do what cops are going to do. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's right, but definitely it's just embarrassing to hear these protesters act like they are. So again, just pure ignorance, and it just, like I said, it's really sad because it's the next generation, and what I'm seeing is that the next generation, uh, for the most part, and obviously I'm not saying everyone, they're responsible people who want police accountability, who are really passionate about this, and that's how it needs to be. You know what I mean? Again, I'm from a different generation. I'm old school, but at the same time, it really is sad just to see that you know these individuals are really hurting the cause and not helping it at all. And just like with the Antifa, and that's another thing that's happening. That's a phenomenon that wasn't around in the 1980s and wasn't around even 5 or 10 years ago like it is now, is that you have a lot of people with other agendas who are infiltrating groups of people, groups of citizens who really are passionate about this and who really want change and who really want their voices to be heard. And that's the beautiful thing about this country, is that the freedom of speech, right? The freedom to denounce and call out injustices, right? And that's how it should be. But then you have within those groups, you have people who travel from other parts of the country, or even the world in some cases, and they're just out for a whole different, like I said, agenda. You know what I mean? I remember during the George Floyd protests, and I forget if it was in New York City or whatever, a group of protesters literally grabbed a masked young white Caucasian male and basically brought him to the police because this individual was destroying parts of the sidewalk and pavement with a hammer, and he was part of like the Antifa groups. And again, it's people. Here's the thing that really kind of just gets hits a nerve in me. There's people out here protesting right now in Rochester who don't give a fuck about Daniel Prude. Let me just say it like that. They really don't. And it's other agendas that they have of disrupting. You know what I mean? Again, it's just there's so much going on, and to see ignorance in a time like this when my city and my hometown is hurting so much, and when Daniel Prude's family is hurting so much, and when uh, what I believe to be, seven Rochester, New York cops got away with murder after the Attorney General announced yesterday that the grand jury returned a no bill, meaning they're not gonna charge these cops in the murder of Daniel Prude. So, on top of that, already to see ignorance among these protesters just really, really aggravates me. So, check out part two for the full video.